Hey everybody, it is Andrew Lowen with Deliverance here to give you an update on some story. And I thought since we're going to write a Kickstarter update, um, I thought that it would be cool to just have part of it come from me, my voice, and via video. So I wanted to talk today about the story of Deliverance and where it's been and where it's going. And what I mean by that is the first iteration of the game, version 1.0 that we released in 2023, where that story was in the campaign book versus the remastering of the game that we're releasing this year, along with the expansion of the Council of the Fallen expansion. So, really, I want to share about like why we're updating the story and why that matters. And I know some of you have heard me talk about this a little bit if you've been listening to or reading the updates very closely, but I've never done anything on video, and I know I've only really spoken things in parts. And one of the weird things about being a publisher of the games that I'm working on, of Deliverance, is that I deal with every bit of I mean, every aspect of the game in great detail. And sometimes it's hard to know what I've shared and what I haven't because there's just so much and it blends together. So I hope you guys appreciate this. So let's dive into it. Number one, why is the story being updated? So we didn't update the story at random. We didn't just decide. In fact, actually, economically, it's probably not the best idea to revisit a product that was successful and make changes to it. So why are we doing that? Well, first of all, we want to make the best version of the product that we can. Um, and second of all, we want to make sure the continuity of the story makes sense, like from the base game to the expansion. And we felt like we could improve on some of the connection points. In fact, originally Deliverance was slated to be a trilogy in the Fallbrook saga. So we were going to go, Council of the Fallen was going to be the second game in a three-game trilogy, and we decided along the way that it should actually the Fallbrook saga should conclude in the Council of the Fallen expansion, and then we can move into other things, but we don't need to continue telling the story in Fallbrook. It'd be weird if you bought a game, the base game because you wanted to try it out, and then you decide to buy the latest expansion and you actually missed out on part two of a three-part story. It's like watching Fellowship of the Ring and then skipping the Two Towers and just watching Return of the King. You missed a lot of important stuff in there, right? So it doesn't make as much sense to make a game that requires not only the base game but also another expansion in order for it to make sense. So anyway, so that's that element. But we did a Google survey for all our fans back in 2024. We'll do it again later this year in 2026, where we were seeking what things did you like? How many games did you play of Deliverance? How many games of the campaign did you play? What's your favorite mode? How did you like the story? How did the gameplay turn out for you? And we asked, the gameplay, for example, we asked on a scale of 1 to 7, how satisfied were you with the quality of the actual game itself? And the very topmost number, 1 being the worst and 7 being the highest, was 7. And if that were the actual score, versus people being nice or people picking the max because they love the theme and or something like that, then I would expect to see the next number down be like less than half of the number of votes that was received by like the top. So if the score of 7 received 100 votes, then a 6 should receive like less than half of that. Maybe like 40 votes, and then a 5 should receive like half of that. So 15 to 20 votes, and so on down the line. And that is exactly the way the curve looked. It was like 7. Everyone really loved the gameplay. That was certainly reflected in the Board Game Geek score and all the awards we were nominated for, and other things like that. And the fact that the print run sold out so quickly. And then the game's story, though, there were the highest number of votes were, so we had, let's say if we're using the same 170 or 100 vote score and the scale of 1 to 7, we had around, let's say, like 70 votes at rank 7, which is the highest score, and then we had around 40 votes at 6. So the ratio is kind of weird. And then we had 100 votes at a 5, which is and then it just dropped off pretty hard from there. It was like 20 votes at 4 out of and then it goes down to like nothing. One person thought it was a 1 out of 7. And because the 5 was the highest score, even though a lot of people voted 6 and 7, I took that to like as actionable data to say that the story could clearly be improved. The question is, but how? And that's what I want to talk about next. So we know we knew we needed to revisit the story thoughtfully, but I had this kind of personal turning point as a writer, somewhat recently. But um, the I deal with deliverance all the time, like every day, and I feel like a very deep connection to the to world and the characters. I co-wrote the first story with Ian Tyrell. I am writing this story with Adam Glass, and I feel like there are elements that needed to fundamentally change in the way that we present the story, in order to not just like a rewrite, but like a deeper telling of what's happening and why this matters. I feel connected to why this matters to me as a regular person. And I'm really excited to share how that kind of made it into the story, without spoiling anything, of course. So the first thing is the concept of the interlude is really the core of what kind of the where we decided to go based on all the feedback. And an interlude is like a page that's right in the middle of the campaign book that is just purely story that you could skip over if you wanted, and it has no bearing on the gameplay, but it just gets you a little bit of insight into what's actually happening in the world and with these angels and how the angels engage with people and other things like that. So normally a deliverance campaign mission is you've got, let's say, a 2-page spread that shows you the mission. You've got a little bit of story text up here, and then the setup of the mission, and then maybe if there's a boss or special rules, and then like the reward, and finally, kind of in the bottom of the other page, it's got the conclusion of the story, and that's pretty convenient for players. They really like that they can get an understanding of where they are, what they're doing, and then after but the main core of what's in front of them is gameplay related. And then they've got a little conclusion that they can read that's kind of like a reward for your beating the mission, in addition, of course, to the actual rewards that you mark on your campaign tracking sheet. So we decided to add interludes because there was a lot of feedback that we received that the world that the angels were dealing with, that spiritual realm, and the physical realm that they were walking around in, sometimes just felt disconnected from one another, and that there were fans that really wanted those two to kind of blend more. It's like, what would happen if angels talked with people and more, rather than just listening to people and kind of taking that for marching orders sometimes, right? And so we decided to go with the concept of the interlude, which was specifically designed to show how angels and humanity interact. And the Bible explicitly states, actually, it's let me find it. It's in Hebrews 13:2. It says, "Do not forget to entertain strangers, for by doing so, some have unwittingly entertained angels." And I mean, that's, first of all, that's amazing. It sounds a little bit unbelievable at first that it's actually plausible that you, as just a normal person, have talked to an angel or entertained an angel unaware. And it's, as far as I can tell, that verse is not metaphorical. And I feel like that helps me, that kind of helped transform, um, well, I don't know. I mean, I wanted to make sure people felt that in the interludes. So, I wanted to talk about the text of the interlude and why I just went through some radical transformation on these in particular. I'm still working on story. We're refining story. We're going to get it out to proofreaders eventually, and by the time we go to print, we'll have the story in its finished state. But I I feel like I was rushing past the mundane moments in the story, and I realized, like for example, this is like not really a spoiler, but you, as the group of angels in the campaign, meet the priest of the church, and you talk to him. He feeds you, and you kind of use the church as your base of operations in Fallbrook toward the beginning of the campaign. And originally, the first version of this story was like, you come into the church, and there's an old man there with like a cane that is shocked to see you, and then it says in a very passive way that leaves everything up to the audience's imagination. After introductions and a few awkward questions, then things go on. But I realized that the introduction and the awkward questions, that's, most people would consider that the more mundane part of the story. But that's actually, I think, the key that I should expand on. What was it like to see these people that are actually angels, but the priest sees them as, in the story, homeless people? And how does he, first meet with them, and they crash into his church in the middle of the night, and wake him from his slumber? What did that feel like? He couldn't have just come out and been like, "Oh, hello, people that need my help." He had to be thinking, and so anyway, I really dove into that moment and slowed it down, because I realized, a lot of what you're doing in Deliverance is awesome and fantastic and incredible, and there are lots of like adjectives that I can use that mundane has nothing to do with it, right? Like you're angels slaying demons, casting down strongholds, like you're doing mighty epic things. And so there's no room for mundane in the missions, but in these interludes, it's kind of the most fun for it to be mundane, because you, as the audience, you're reading the story of this man that doesn't understand that he's talking with angels and dealing with angels, and these angels that are trying to, you know, act human as best they can, to not to make him aware. And I think that that's kind of where some of the greatest, I don't know, comedy and joy kind of naturally comes out. And I felt like there was this in the first iteration, we had this joke about popcorn, and I made attempts about about steaks and whatnot. If you're reading the updates, Michael eating a steak. Some people hated the joke about the popcorn. Popcorn. I won't expand on it, but I felt like it. Humor is important to add just a little bit of levity into the story, and it feels like this methodology of just diving a little bit more into the mundane, normal, everyday, standard stuff that we all go through, except you're talking to an angel, um, is such a cool way to add levity without having to, try to make fart jokes and, other childish things that really kind of take away from the story, right? So, I wanted to share with you guys that that's like a major thing that it's like this major breakthrough. And I feel like I'm reflecting on my own life and the strangers that I have entertained, and, kind of infusing that into the story. And it's really kind of a special thing that I feel much more connected to as a reader. And I hope that you guys will too. A couple of other things I wanted to mention, number one is, I talked about how the game was originally set to be a trilogy. Um, it, by making it a game, a two-part, beginning and end, it flows a lot better. And it's like not so thin. It's not, it's very meaty. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff that happens. You're constantly on an adventure of what happens next. It's like, why is the devil here in Fallbrook is like one of the major questions. What's the devil doing? What's the devil up to? But then there's the like humans, and what are the humans up to? And then these this rogue sect of the Council of the Fallen. What are they up to, and how do these three kind of intermingle? And the angels, the fact the angels don't know exactly everything that's going on and have to kind of discover what's happening, and who the players are, who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, what's what needs doing, and how it all works together is pretty fun. So the other thing I want to mention is, like, while writing the story, my kids, would watch lots of pulp culture stuff, but with like K-pop Demon Hunters coming out and other shows like that, it feels like pop culture gives people a very unhealthy relationship, or a very unhealthy understanding of the spiritual realm, and what you know that is like, and what's good and bad and whatnot. Like in K-pop Demon Hunters, you have someone who's half demon that's like, oh, you're fine just the way you are. Half demon blood is good, and it's like you're kind of using a bad thing. Like, demons are bad. Like, they're not good. Um, and you're muddying the waters a little bit. I get that it's just pop culture, and you can certainly look at K-pop Demon Hunters as like there are like Christian elements, like a redemption arc and other things like that. But I feel like you're still going to have such an unhealthy relationship, unhealthy, an inaccurate understanding of the true, like what's truly going on behind the scenes. And um, the world of Deliverance kind of invites you into this, um, I would say, a very positive relationship with the spiritual realm, where the truth of like angels good, demons bad, the devil is the worst kind of, comes, it permeates through the story. And I feel like in a way Deliverance pushes against that trend of, I could go off on all sorts of examples, but I just figure one is fine for now. But there are so many examples of pop culture infusing poor understanding of spirituality into, and Christianity and Christian teaching into shows. And I feel like a lot of it is done, maybe purposefully, others ignorance, but Deliverance infuses truth into the story in a way that is just very natural, but is also has the benefit of being true and theologically sound. So I'm really proud about that, and excited for you guys to experience that. Those of you that have played the first edition of the game will already kind of have understanding of that, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. So let's see. Is there anything else that I wanted to say? Um, Man, I guess that's really it. But I appreciate you guys for sticking with me and trusting our team to get you a good game in a good time. It's really important for us to make sure the game is done right. And so, a little update for you guys on the manufacturing side. We have finished all the files that are needed for the digital sample. We're going to receive the actual, after going back and forth with the factory. They have the files right now. They're kind of separating them into all the buckets that they need to be separated into, and organizing things on their end. When they have them organized, they're going to give me digital proof to review. I'm going to, and also where those things are supposed to go and how they're supposed to package them and whatnot. When I approve that, they're going to send me the digital sample, which is a physical. It's called a digital sample, but that means just they digitally print instead of using their hardcore machines to do everything. So the print quality is not going to be quite as high as like the final product, but they're going to print everything, put it in the box, and send it to me, and I'm going to receive, in essence, what will be the first copy of the new Deliverance remastered base game and the Council of the Fallen. So that is something that I'm going to get to work with, to look at every single card. I'm going to be able to play through the campaign if I need to, or at least review all the missions and things like that. That's kind of like the last line of defense, is to catch errors there. And while we're doing that, we have actually submitted story that rather campaign books that are not in their completed, final, state, because the story we're still working on. We've given the draft story, one of the earlier draft stories that, for so that they can get things printed. And so if there are any errors, we're going to update files and send them the updated files, and they're going to send us another kind of digital like PDF. Are these the correct files and whatnot, correct images? And then we approve that, and mass manufacturing begins. So where we're at, it looks like the physical miniatures are going to be completed on January 27th. That was the date that they gave me. And the other, like the mass manufacturing is going to be ready to do for all the plastic parts January 27th. We have all of the other components, all the add-ons, everything like that is like in process now. I should be receiving physical samples of a lot of those things over the next month or two. And when mass manufacturing begins, I will have approved all of the samples, and then that mass manufacturing process is 2 months long, and then shipping, and then final delivery. So thanks for following along. I appreciate you guys for supporting, and we'll see you in the next video. Make sure to read the update on Kickstarter or via email. Oh, and by the way, we have a scenario pack 8 is out. And what is that called? A Season of Hope. It's a season of hope where Herod, the greedy Meister, is trying to shut down a live nativity scene that's happening at a local church. I find it really funny because Herod tried to, end the line of Jesus during that nativity, over 2,000 years ago, and he failed. And so now he's back trying to stop the recreation of the nativity, and you have to make sure that he fails again. So that's a free PDF that you can get on Board Game Geek right now as a PDF download. I'll also make sure that it gets sent via email. So keep a look out for that. We give quarterly content for free to everyone who owns Deliverance. Right now, everything is playable with the base game. And if you don't have the base game, you can play on Tabletop Simulator. And as soon as you guys get your copies later this year, you're going to be able to play all the scenarios as well. So some of which are in the scenario book, and others, for example, Herod the Greedy Meister, is not there. So Season of Hope is a brand new scenario that actually increases the number of scenarios available beyond 30 at this point, including the scenario book. So enjoy that, and we'll see you in the next video.